Make a U-turn in 1,000 feet, slide left, take the next left, sharp left, turn right on, continue on, in a quarter mile, at the light, in 600 feet, turn right on.
You have reached your destination.
All right, so I needed to put this piece of carpet in the back so I could hide speaker wire plus the wire that runs the third brake light. Did a pretty good job. I purposefully did not do that bottom piece, but I'll do that later when I start filling in the rest of the trunk. I intend on doing the walls on the left and the right. I'm not sure if I will do this, but I'm pretty sure I will. It's not going to be tough. I did it in my Roadster. And I've also finished over in here. Same thing. Got some things to cut off and trim, for example, but that's not tough. And pretty much everything you're seeing here down won't be seen when the spare tire comes through anyway, so I don't like this. Well, so what you don't see, speaker wire goes up and through and down and then around this way, down that way. So it's hidden by that piece of carpet. I've already checked the clearance. The speaker wire itself is up above the area where it might get clipped by the better cover, and there's all that wire that goes down. Through a hole that I drilled. So in a little bit, I'm going to bundle all that up into a couple of cables, bundles, whatever, put it in the trunk, so I'm going to put the body back on the car. On the chassis, they're not in the way. So, not too bad. I've also put the holes for the trunk release through here. I need to poke them through. Did I already poke them through? I'm going to put them through the other side. I need to put the connectors for the seat belts up in there as well, and on that side. Just poke them through. Poking them through is nothing more than a hot screwdriver and shove through. I am still awaiting my interior from the order I made. I've done it through Skinner, Paul Skinner, but his process is deliberate and long, and I can do this bit, and of course on the other sides. But I really want to do the sides so I can get that just out of the way, cover it all up in plastic or whatnot, and have it ready to put on the car when I move the chassis under this thing. Because right now, all I do is step in and sit on a stool to do all this work. It's much easier doing it like this. So, there we go for now. Okay, here's something I've done today, finally, which is just carpet. I put a layer of it to go over. It looks blue, but it's actually black. To go over the what do you call it? The hinge recesses. Also painted all that up here, got some on me, and at some point when I started poking holes through this for mounting things and wiring and blah 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 blah, I will have holes in it. But until then, no. I did mount some some things here temporarily. That's where the brake pedal box will go, just to hold all this weight up while I glued it in. Not of the carpet, but of the sound barrier. It was beginning to sag, so put a lot of glue in there, and here you go, and there you go. So I've done some deliberate overlaps there for when I get the what do you call it? God damn it! The rest of the interior, I will have some overlaps. I won't see gaps. Don't know when that's coming, but it's on order finally. Paul Skinner's got my order. And that is that for now. What else have I done? Lots of other stuff. Oh yeah, a lot of painting. All kinds of crap up in there. I've done some rust removal, and I'm currently working on my my heater box. I stripped this down to bare metal. I did a little bit of rust repair, rust fill, and painted it using chassis black. Where's that stuff? This stuff. Summit. It's engine chassis, but it's good stuff. There's that. JP. I hope you approve. It looks kind of pretty. And here's the. Ooh. Well, I'll let that cure. But that's the side that you won't see, so I don't really care. Other side looks really beautiful. Did a nice job on the other side. Pause. Unstick it from plastic. Well, maybe not. I didn't do as nice of a job as I thought I did. Oh well. Okay, so all this means is that I've got to let this all dry for 48 hours or more. I'll sand it smooth on this side and repaint so it looks pretty. Oh well. God damn it. Wow. That's my thumbprint. Here I am.
Here we are.
Here's Dick Moritz, the man himself. Here is my...
Chris wanted a killer engine. So here's your killer engine.
Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Ooh, look at that.
Did you say, ooh, look at that?
Ooh.
Ooh, look at that.
Okay, ooh. Oh, lovely. Lovely.
It's as turnkey as I could get it for you, bud.
Okay.
As turnkey as I could get it. Here's your new Rivergate transmission. Bolted up.
Yeah. Where's the
New
shift
clutch
linkage, the gear shift lever?
Yeah, I have that for you.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So do you want to run me through the specs on this thing?
I'm sorry?
Want to run me through the specs on this?
Certainly. So it's an MGB 5-main engine. It's bored 20 over. Crankshaft is done 20 and 20. Crankshaft end play is right within specs. Camshaft end play is right within specs. We've got shallow dish pistons. Volume of the dish is 6 cc's, as they are. The shallow dish pistons are 6 cc's. Now, you wanted a kick-ass engine. Just remember, you did. So what we did was we did a trial assembly with the crankshaft and connecting rods and pistons and rings, and we set the deck height to 0. The deck height is how far below the deck the pistons are when they're at the top of their travel. And usually they're about 25 thousandths down from the deck. But by doing the trial assembly, measuring the deck height, and then taking it all back apart, and then milling that much off the block, we end up with 0 deck height, which raises the compression. Then we CC'd the cylinder head, and we milled the cylinder head. The early heads, 63 to 71, were large chamber heads at 43 cc's in the combustion chamber. The later heads from 72 to 80, both the big valve head, the 12H2923, and then also the CAM 1106 head, the later head, those were 38 cc's. So we milled your head to achieve a combustion chamber of 36 cc's. The compressed operating thickness of the head gasket that we all use, the Payenne, the Lucas, compressed operating thickness of the head gasket is 0.41.
Okay.
So if we do the math, the bore is plus 20, so that's 3.180. Standard bore is 3.160, so we're 20 over at 3.180. The stroke is a stock stroke at 3.5, 3.5. piston dish is 6 cc's. The deck height is 0. The compressed operating thickness of the head gasket is 0.41, and the cylinder head combustion chamber volumes are 36 cc's. Do the math. Your compression ratio is 10 3/4 to 1. That's pushing it. I know it's pushing it, but you wanted to push it. So you will need, as I told you, you'll need octane booster with every tank full of gas. And it'll have a bit of a lumpy idle, probably going to idle about 1,000 RPM, a little higher than the last motor that I did for you, with a little bit of a lope at idle. But it's going to be a kick-ass motor.
I noticed that you found a dual pulley.
Used a dual pulley for you.
Because I intend on putting air conditioning on this thing. Beautiful, Dick, beautiful.
Yep. So we got that. We got your yellow 7-plate plastic fan that you bought. We have a high output alternator.
It's 100 amps, right?
I'm not sure of the amperage, but it's definitely high output because stock is like 30 or 35. Whatever it is plenty of amps for you. I got you a new connector kit for your electrical connector for the alternator, because I'm not sure how you're going to wire the car.
Single point or a single wire, a negative earth.
Pardon me?
Negative earth.
Well, we have the connector kit because you're going to want the indicator light on the dash. So you can't do that with a 1-wire setup.
Oh.
So you do it with a 3-wire setup, but it's real easy to do, and that's the plug kit for it. So you'll have a nice plug for the harness. So it's going to look very nice, very factory. It'll be very trouble-free. Got your high torque starter motor here. That's all set to go. Got your Hemi freeze plugs here.
I love those.
Left them unpainted so they look nice for you. I thought you'd kind of like that. Got your inverted spin-on oil filter with a Purolator Boss air filter.
So that's out to the oil cooler and then back into there, right?
The output from the oil pump goes through a fork in the road. One branch goes to the oil pressure relief valve on the other side.
Okay.
The other branch comes directly to the block in here. This is a particular special fitting, and this fitting has an extension tube inside, and that tube is about this long. And what that does is it blocks the oil output from the pump from reaching this little fitting, which is for your oil pressure gauge. So all the output from the oil pump goes either to the oil pressure relief valve or just to this fitting. And then the routing from this fitting is through a fat hose, through an oil cooler if you have it. Whether you have an oil cooler or not, the output then comes here into the oil filter adapter. The oil comes in through the outside of the filtering medium, always from the outside in on any kind of a filter, because we've got much more surface area of the filtering media on the outside. And it passes through the filtering media, and then inside this oil filter adapter there's a standpipe. So the oil then passes through the filter, down through the standpipe. It then passes into this oil gallery here. You see it here? It runs front to rear in the block, and then it comes back and only then to the oil pressure gauge. So in order to see oil pressure on the gauge, oil has to come from the pump out of this through a cooler if equipped, and if not, directly from this to the filter, fill the oil gallery, and only then will it come out and read on your oil pressure gauge. And then inside of this, then there's drillings that go to the crankshaft for the main bearings and the rod bearings and the cam bearings. So that's the routing of the oil flow.
So what is the fitting size on that?
I'm sorry?
What is the fitting size on the...
That's whatever the hose is that you buy from Moss or all the suspects. There's a flexible hose that's this long, and then that typically goes up to a pedestal and then onto your oil pressure gauge.
So I'm going electronic gauges on this, all with a sender and the whole 9 yards. That's why I ask.
Okay. I don't recall offhand, but I will tell you, I think it's 1/8 pipe thread. because
That sounds familiar.
when you buy, like go to Harbor Freight and buy a mechanical diagnostic oil pressure gauge, it comes with different fittings, and I know for a fact that one of those fittings fits onto that. So it's a standard fitting, and I'm pretty sure it's 1/8 pipe.
Okay.
So your oil pressure transmitter should bolt directly to that.
And Mallory Distributor?
Mallory Distributor, that's your Mallory pinpoint distributor.
I bought that from you about 2 years ago.
Yep, exactly.
Returned
you
home.
stored it nicely, thank you very much. So I went through that and I checked the points and the rotor and inside and all of that. There are a couple nice things about the Mallory. Number one, it has 2 sets of points. One set is the leading set and the other is the trailing set. So one point set of contacts opens to trigger the coil, but then that that closes, but the other set of points stays open a little longer. So the Mallory necessarily gives you a longer dwell period for better coil saturation.
Yep.
So we like that. The distance inside the distributor cap between the towers is further apart than in a Lucas distributor. So we have less chance of crossfire from there, from the rotor to one of the towers. And finally, the Mallory uses an external condenser.
I noticed that.
Which is kind of nice because it's more accessible. It's easier to change if you have to change it. Although the Mallory condensers are pretty durable, much more so than the orange Lucas ones that you buy from all the usual suspects.
Yeah.
The wires are new, the spark plugs are new, the spark plugs are gapped. The static timing is also set. So it should be ready for you to just light up the engine. Now I will give you, before you leave, another copy of my detailed engine startup and break-in instructions, in which I suggest that you remove the spark plugs, crank the engine until you see oil pressure, and then put the spark plugs back in it before you light the engine off. That way we know that everything internal is well lubricated.
Look at how everything's polished and beautiful. The rear of the pancake filters.
Well, they're new. That's all new.
Valve cover came with my car, so JP, that's a nice choice. I think that's beautiful.
Yep.
And obviously you've got the tappet cover vented.
Yep, that's okay, and then the air filter.
Yeah.
So that's good, and your air filter cap is vented, so we can get adequate crankcase ventilation. We've got a new 180 thermostat for you, a new Clingersol, the green gasket, that's the good gasket. You would ask for an outlet with the inlet on the radiator on the passenger side. Temperature gauge sending unit is in. I'm not sure what you're going to do with your electronic gauges.
It'll come with a sending unit.
So it may come with a sending unit. And depending on the threads of the sender, you may or may not need an adapter, which should come with the sending unit also.
Okay. So what is that thread native right there?
Pardon me?
Do you know what the thread is on that that current sending
This?
unit?
I do not, but it's a standard thread.
Okay.
It's kind of like the thread for your oil pressure sending unit.
So I'll need to obviously put a heater valve control.
Heater control valve right
Control
here.
valve there, yeah.
Or you can put a block-off plate, depending on whether you want to use a heater or not.
I've got one of those, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm currently in the process of repainting everything for the heater, so it looks real pretty right now.
Good. Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent.
And these are HS6s?
HS6s. Yes. A reminder that with SU carburetors, the H is for horizontal, which means side draft. The S stands for side float bowl, as opposed to the later carburetors, which have an integral float bowl. So those would be HIF integral float bowls. So these are HS4s. These are kind of preferable because the float and needle and seat are much more accessible if you ever need to service them.
Okay.
And then the 6 is the number of eighths of an inch, which is 6/8, which is 3/4, plus an inch at the diameter of the throttle disc.
Boy, that
So
just
these
looks
are
pretty.
HS6 carburetors.
So obviously,
Indeed.
right here obviously is the accelerator.
Yes, that's the accelerator. This is the choke. You're going to have to check with the guy you got the carburetors from to see how he had the throttle and choke cables connected. Throttle cable will come through here, and then connect here with throttle return springs. You'll need to make up a little bracket underneath for throttle return springs. Again, you can check and see how he had that configured.
Okay.
But the carburetors are all rebuilt. The intake manifold is a special manifold because it has square mounting flanges with 4 studs to mount the carburetors. So this is a very specific intake manifold just for HS6 carburetors. What we do on some of the race cars is we use an original HS4 manifold and open the ports out to accommodate the bigger carburetors, and then only use the diagonal mountings. But this is a much nicer setup. So this is good. We have heat shields here. Both the intake and manifold and your exhaust header are port matched to the cylinder head and to the manifold gasket. And I give you, on the instructions, I give you the part number for the competition manifold gasket in case you ever have to change it somewhere down the road. Not likely, but if you ever have to, you will. Now, I don't know about the space in your engine bay. You may have to take off the air cleaners.
I was about to ask you that.
You may have to take off the carburetors. You may even have to take off the header.
So when I put the last engine into my Roadster, I took off the carbs.
Yes.
Because I read somewhere that they interfere with the body going on.
With
the body going back on.
Yes.
So.
Yes. So you may have to. I assembled it so it's all assembled and you know how it's assembled.
Yeah.
But it's easy enough to take apart if you need to. So the air cleaners just come right off. There's 4 nuts that hold each carburetor on, and you can just pull those carburetors off. And the header you may or may not have to take off. You'll note, by the way, that for clearance, your car is a left-hand drive car, right?
It's going to be a right-hand drive.
Oh, it is? Okay. All right. Well, that's good. But in any event, I've replaced these outer studs with bolts because sometimes, especially with an aftermarket header, when you pull it off, it can foul on an MGB, certainly, against the steering column. So, because of these end studs, not the 4 center studs, but the end studs, so I always replace them with bolts for them.
Very nice. Thank you.
So,
Good looking out.
yep, so I did that. The water pump is new. I wasn't sure if you wanted it painted or not, so I cleaned it and clear coated it. So
looks pretty.
It'll be durable. The fan belt's new.
Yep. That looks nice.
Yep, everything is new. Your brackets here are all nicely painted and all that, so you just bolt up your motor mounts and they should just bolt right up and drop right in.
Got those ready.
The 5-speed is an interesting setup. It's an interesting setup with the release fork and bearing and the spigot bearing and all of that. I got it all together. I wasn't quite sure about it, so I just took it all apart again. I wanted to check the clearances because I read a lot, did a lot of research, not necessarily on this, but in general, I did some research, and with other conversions, like when you're mixing and matching MGA parts and MGB parts, there's some question about clearance between the pressure plate and the inside of the bell housing.
Okay.
So I put it all together, and then I took it all back apart again, and I checked all the clearances around the periphery of the pressure plate, and there's plenty of clearance there. I have the shifter for you and the related parts. I will tell you that in the instructions, I left you a little something to do, but just a little something, and it's not a big deal. But you're the fabricator, you've got the metalworking skills, it's simple. The instructions, which I'm going to give you, tell you that they want you to grind just this little bit of metal off the top of this shift area. So I marked it roughly in red as a reminder for you, but there's very detailed instructions.
I read that,
with the shifter.
Okay.
So you'll want to do that. So I've got that for you here.
Where's the backup light switch on this?
That would be here.
Got it. Okay.
This is your shifter, your clutch alignment tool for what it's worth, and the various parts for the shifter. So you can just go ahead and do that grinding accordingly. And then this is your clutch slave cylinder,
Where's that gonna go?
which bolts to the side of the gearbox. That bolts. Let's see.
It's in the instructions though, I think, right?
Oh, sure. Well, here's the fork. So the
It's gotta be on that side, yeah.
Probably to these two bolts here.
Okay.
Once again, you can check the instructions to be
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But here's your clutch fork. So that will be, I'm sure, intuitive. And then they also gave you a block off here for the speedometer cable. I'm not sure how the speedometer connects on this. You're probably going to use an electronic GPS.
I'm going GPS, yeah.
Right. So I have that for you. What else?
You got a junk tire for me
I have a junk
to put the. I couldn't get one. I just couldn't get the schedule.
And then here are your exhaust pieces. I didn't put them on because they wouldn't travel anyway.
Okay.
So those are your exhaust pieces there. Like that here. These are some old carburetor parts from the rebuild. These are all the parts that got replaced. Here are some throttle return springs. Here's SU tuning. Here's some spare gaskets for you. And I got these for you. These are the phenolic spacers that will go in here.
Between?
Yes, in between.
Okay, so I'm gonna put those in myself.
Well, I left them off for you because I don't know what your lateral clearance is in your engine bay.
Yeah.
If you have room, I would include these because they provide extra insulation to keep you from getting vapor lock.
Yeah.
So if you have room, then that would be a good thing to put on.
Okay.
I tried to anticipate all the possibilities, not knowing exactly how your car is going to be configured.
Yeah. And there's no oil in it right now, correct?
There is no oil, but plenty of assembly lube on all the internal parts. So once you're ready to start it up, then everything will be pre-lubed until you get oil pressure on the gauge.
So I've got to put, what was that? Not Molly, but you asked me to buy an additive for my Roadster engine.
ZDDP.
That's it.
Yeah, if you just go to any auto parts store and go to the oil additive section,
AutoZone.
there will be bottles that say zinc or ZDDP or camshaft break-in lubricant for solid tappet, flat tappet engines. Whatever you find is fine. But you definitely want to add that. Never any synthetic oil ever. 20W50 dyno oil.
Okay.
Because synthetic oil is going to leak out every orifice it can find.
Yeah. Where is the front oil gallery plug? Or is it obscured by the water pump?
Well, it's not obscured by the water pump, and it's no longer obscured by the front engine plate, because what I've taken to doing now is, if you look right in here,
There it is.
you see that?
Yep.
So now what I do on every engine I build is I just clearance the front engine plate here, so that if there's ever an issue with that, there's ready access to
Oh,
it.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. So not a problem at all.
And you put a freeze plug like the others in the back, right?
Yes, it's hidden.
Oh, it's totally hidden.
Yes. On this, it's totally hidden because with the Rivergate back plate, there's no hole in the back plate like there is on the stock back plate. But they're all Hemi freeze plugs, so they're never coming out.
Those are beautiful freeze plugs.
They are.
Yeah.
They're quite lovely. So it's a great build, Chris. I'm real happy with the way it turned out. All my clearances came in right where I like them. It turns nicely. I think it's going to be a wonderful engine for you.
Well, I've left Dick's place, and I'm headed home. This is what I've got for engines. I've got my flashes on. I'm doing 35 miles an hour, maybe 40, and a long trip. So, Dick, if you're looking at this after I post, it didn't beat the weather. God damn it. I kind of like this actually. I mean, I like driving in the rain. but I've got 500 pounds in my in the rear, and everybody else is driving, I hope, responsibly. That's another bad part. You know, there's always that one guy that has to get home fast. Be doing this for a while. And I am home. Actually, a very easy drive between Philadelphia and where I live. So, aside from the rain and slowed down traffic, it wasn't bad. So, there she blows on my engine hoist, engine lift, whatever. It's clear of the spare tire that Dick loaned me, gave me, and I'll just drive the truck from under it, and I'm gonna be done. I may mount this today. At least the engine part, I may not. I don't know. But I'm home. Oh yeah. Easy time. Good time. It's always good to see Dick. He's a great guy. There's a big open space there now. Hmm.